Welcome everyone. We're pleased that you're here. Tonight's event is part of the Marketing Roundtable event series. My name is Don Hart, and I'm the new chairperson of this event series. I'm pleased to be here. We've got a great crowd tonight. The event's brought to you by Ann Arbor Spark, a supporter of high-tech business and innovation in the Washtenaw County area, and it's being live streamed at AnnArborUSA.org thanks to Russell Video. Online viewers, please feel free to submit questions anytime. And live viewers, there's going to be a microphone at the back that I'll bring you around when we have questions for our question and answer portion. Just a reminder for everyone to turn off your cell phones, and now we're delighted to start the program. Tonight is really a tremendous opportunity for us because we're taking a look at customer discovery. And we all know that nothing happens really without a customer who has a need, and we're providing a solution to that. Tonight our panel is led by David Bloom, who is our former chairperson of the Marketing Roundtable. He is well known in Ann Arbor as someone who is a mentor and someone who has tremendous insight about startups and entrepreneurship. And tonight his topic is the customer discovery for tech startups. Please welcome, won't you, David Bloom.
Thank you, Don. Can you all hear me? Can you all hear me now? Stand up, please. Look around. I see a room full of failure. Tonight's program is about failure. And what do? We celebrate it. Give all of your fellow failures a hand. Failure is another name for learning. We want to fail fast, we want to learn hard. There's no education like a fail. Okay, you can sit. Let's see if this thing works. Yes. All right, so no scientific discussion is any good without an agenda. Today we're going to say, why are we doing customer discovery? Which is a great lead into what is customer discovery. And then we're going to get some case studies on folks who have done it. We're going to get Carl from Ecco, Jeff from Postbound. We're going to get Tracey from Warmilu. And then some Q&A. These Marketing Roundtable programs, they pretty much write themselves. If you can write that agenda, you can do what I'm doing. But remember, I told you this was about failure, so I want to tell you, I'm not going to do this right today. I will encourage you to find those points that I need to do better. And in the Q&A section, make them the bases of your questions. So let's say, why are we here? This is the existential. Stand up again if you love 30-page business plans. Come on. Don't be shy.
Is that good reading and writing?
Just the plan itself, Richard. Who loves, and this is my favorite, 5-year financials? You ever get an investor say, I saw you back there. Oh, Gary, you don't count. They demand that you have 5 years of financials on a business that doesn't even exist. Who loves executive summaries, those little 2-page, God, I can't get it all onto one page, even in 6-point font. Who loves pitch decks? This is my pitch deck. Oh, Jerry, you don't count either. Who loves pitching? Yeah, okay, let's not always see the same hands. Here's a good one. Who loves getting those pitches? Receiving from a nervous entrepreneur the distillation of all of her hard work. Who loves risk? You don't count, Carl. Carl loves risk. All right. So the answer to why this customer discovery is investors. Investors hate all of this. And the number one investor in your startup is you. Your startup doesn't need any of this stuff. What your startup needs is to know what its success factors are, and none of these things are that. So I get this a lot. My business, Factotem, is a business accelerator of startup companies. And just about every week I'll get this call. I've got this thing I need to build. This is from a client that I refer to affectionately as my Kevorkian client. He's going to pay me to hurt him. And he says, I know what this thing needs to look like. I know. All right, so I'm going to be a little Socratic. I'm going to say, okay, say I build it. Some schmuck going to buy this from you? I know that the customer, I know who they are, I know where they live, I know where they shop, I know what brand of underwear they wear, and I know they'll buy this. I say, it's a solution to some problem that they have. I know that they'll buy it, and I know what the solution is worth. They're trying to sell me on working for them. They're going to pay me for this. They don't have to sell me. I'm just asking them these, hopefully not defensive questions. Is this really a problem? I mean, do people need left nostril inhalers that badly? I know that the customer will buy this because their problem is so dire. I just know. Who has said any of these things? Don't stand up. Remember, you already did that. This is a program about failure. And I answer them with this. Anybody? Let's not always see the same hands. Show me. Show me the data. Show me that you know these things. That is science. That's not guts. That's not arts and crafts. That's not vision. Data means that you had a hypothesis, you tested the crap out of it, you got raw data. And that gives us the lean startup. The lean startup has many of the same boxes as 2 slides ago, my favorite Kevorkian client. It just does them in a different order. You begin, instead of with hubris, with humility. I don't know. I don't know squat. I don't know if my idea is any good. I don't know if anybody's going to buy it. But I want to find out. Because I'm the biggest investor in my startup. And I don't want to make a bad investment. This is the principle that we're going to be talking about today. And I should tell you, shameless plug, if you like what you're getting today, Ann Arbor Spark has what it calls Entrepreneur Bootcamp, which kicks off next week, which does, all 4 of these phases, discovery, validation, creation, build. We're only going to cover the first box today. We're going to mention a little bit about the other ones, but come see me or any of your Happy Spark people if you're so excited by this that you can't wait to see what the other 3 quarters looks like. And there's our patron saint. Steve Blank said, get out of the building. If you Google the phrase, get out of the building, you see his smiling mug coming back at you. Steve Blank wrote this book, which I hope that all of you devour, which is exactly what the title says it is. It says Startup Owner's Manual. I got a rental car, last month. I went on a road trip, and it had a 400-page owner's manual in it, which I hoped I would never need. And of course, before I crossed the Canadian border, I was already rifling through it, looking for whatever blinky light was on the dash was telling me something. This is that for your company. And, another shameless plug, Steve has not given me any royalties here. I just find that the best parts of the curriculum from tonight and from Entrepreneurs Bootcamp are very well presented in here, along with some of the graphics that you'll see tonight. So why? Why do things this way? Why science? That's why. If it didn't work, I wouldn't be up here. This is a method that, if you apply it, you're in the most risky of pursuits anyway. More startups fail than bungee jumpers, okay? If you do this, you will multiply your success factors. You will halve and quarter and eighth your risk. And if you want to get some investor other than yourself interested, you'll get her attention too. So, why are we here? What is discovery? Discovery is learning from customers. Forgive me, I'm going to read the next couple of slides because, well, I got them here in front of me. Who's a customer? Well, for our purposes, for purposes of this exercise in customer discovery, it's anyone between you and revenue. So it could be a supplier, it could be a distributor, it could be an influencer, it could actually be a saboteur, somebody who doesn't want you to sell. I learned great stuff from those guys. To do discovery, we put on our little white lab coats and get our clipboards, and we go and we meet with these folks in their natural habitat. We go to their offices. We meet with them in meet space, where we get the highest bandwidth and the highest fidelity. We tell them the idea, and then we shut them up. We're not there to pitch, to explain, to defend. We're there to inspire. I'm going to tell you an idea, and then you're going to almost like Freudian free associate. What does that idea make you come back with? And then we are going to listen, listen, listen. The first listen is the kind that you got right now. You're listening to me. You might be taking notes, you might be making mental notes, you might be nodding off, but this is the listening that everybody can do. And you must do this listening, especially if you're going to do the next two listenings. The second listening is listening to the whole person in their environment. What books are on the shelf? What topics make them lean forward and their eyebrows go up and they sit up in their chair? Listening is more than just the sounds that are coming in. They're all of your senses taking in all of the reactions to your idea. And then finally, that last listen is active listening. When your subject gets on a roll and starts really going a blue streak about something, keep them going. Ask leading questions. Get them out of their skin. That's the floodgates are opening and giving you that stuff that I told you I'm so interested in, that data. Do not sell. Oh my goodness. Who has a hard time not selling? All right, we have 12-step programs. It's okay, Otto. This is an experiment. We're doing science here. You sell and you're going to engage the cognitive part of their mind that is doing value equations and defenses. You don't want that guy. You just want feedback on your idea. Do not sell. Did I say that already? Do not sell in discovery. Do it again and again and again. To you, both of you people out in TV land who are watching this, one of you knew that I was going to say, do it 100 times. I didn't just pick a round number. There's actually metadata. This is a study of a study, research on research, that says that if you get 100 customer discovery encounters, you find out everything about your idea. And if you don't, you don't. In the first 20, which are excruciating, you kind of learn how to do this. You learn how to carry on a conversation. In the next 30, you learn how to draw them out. You learn what things to say and what things not to say. In the next 30, this is from 50 to 80, you get gold. You find the folks that you didn't know were out there available to give you good data. Why did you find those guys? Because you asked at the end of every one of your customer discovery encounters, who else should I be talking to? And those last 20, that's kind of like your victory lamp. That's when the patterns have emerged and you're starting to see just what it is that your idea means. Look for those patterns. Those patterns are your business talking to you instead of you talking to it. That's your market telling you where the value is. If there was anything else to customer discovery, it would be executional, practical stuff. That's another reason to seek out a customer discovery coach, and I'm not pumping myself, I'm pumping the entrepreneurial community of Ann Arbor, which has totally embraced this approach, which is not really new. It's kind of old wine in new bottles. Blank has done is given us a common language for some of the best practices I've seen nodding back there that us entrepreneurial coaches have been doing for years. We're forming hypotheses. We're testing them. In an encounter, you can test more than one. You can have hypotheses all over the place. So I brought this poster out here. Thank you, Alyssa. This poster on the on house right, stage left, is called the Business Model Canvas, and it's a tool for generating and iterating hypotheses. And the hypothesis can be about any of those business model segments. There's 9 boxes there. I'll get to that in the next slide. So generating hypotheses, these are really just statements about your business. And if it's valid, okay, you got to be right some of the time. Even when playing pin the tail on the donkey, you're going to hit the butt sometimes. But we're going to celebrate, just like we did at the beginning of our talk, we're going to celebrate our failures. We just learned something. I just scratched off a hypothesis. That's my best day ever. Oh boy, you proved me wrong. Thank you for that. Anytime. We're going to collect lots of those utterances from customers because their language is the language of the problem and the solution, not anything I come up or my best marketing minds came up with. Sorry, Sam. The language from the customer is the language of the solution. That's your business model canvas. Now, this is a sketch of it. That's the big version. And number 1 is your value proposition. What's it worth? And number 2 is what are the segments of people who need that, and on and on and on. Those topics are taught in business school. They're covered in this book. But really, these are things that you already know. Let's pick one like key resources. I'm going to need a lot of software, or I'm going to need an IP attorney. Your channels. I'm going to need to find somebody who already sells to auto dealers in order to be able to sell this to auto dealers. Otherwise, I'm going to bloody my knuckles on their door. And on and on and on. I make a hypothesis, and then I test. When you go out and do your 100 encounters, you're going to find folks who are hostile. They think your idea sucks. And you're going to find these early adopters who can't wait, who wish that you were selling. Don't sell. All through the spectrum are folks that you need to talk to. And the best way to find them are, remember, ask everybody, who should I be talking to? And after you've had 100 of these, you'll see this bell curve emerge, where some of them can't wait to get their hands on it, and some of them will never get it, and everything in between. But that doesn't emerge if you're doing 6 or 8 or 10 or 12. It doesn't even emerge if you're doing 20 or 50. Somewhere around 80, this starts to emerge. So I mentioned validation only in passing because we see that there's this pivot step, which we're going to talk about very briefly. Remember, that's off of our page for today. Today we're only doing discovery. Validation is a lot like discovery with this one important difference, and that is you do a hypothetical sell. You say, if I had this, would you buy it? Now, there's a whole curriculum on validation, and this one slide in the next 30 seconds are not going to do it justice, but I want to keep it in here for completeness because of that figure on the bottom. Discovery is something that you're going to do throughout the life of your business. Steve Blank believes that a startup is an organization of people in search of a business model. And once you have a repeatable business model, then, only then, can you call yourself rightly a company. And there's a lot of startups that try to be little versions of big companies. And, well, that was that first slide with all of the things that you don't like to invest in. So let's review really quick before we turn it over to our case studies, because that is the meat of this presentation. This is just the framing of everything that they're going to tell you. So you got up in the upper left, you've got that 4-step process that's covered in Blank's book. You state your hypotheses, you test. You test the solution, you verify. You go round and round and round and round and round until you figure it out. And when you figure out that you're doing the wrong thing, celebrate. I'm not going to let you say failure anymore. Did you fail? No, I pivoted. I saw that alligator coming at me and I went the other way. Did not fail today. So that's my picture of a pivot. That's my picture of a celebration of I almost said it. Please, when you have a challenge, and you're building your startups and you don't know what's the right thing to do, do not ask an expert. Don't ask me. Don't ask my esteemed panelists. Don't ask the Knights of the Marketing Roundtable. Ask the customers. Don't take one word for it. Take 100. Thank you very much. That is the framing for our case studies. And now I want to bring up the first of these. And we're always going to introduce the case study by asking about their discovery activity. So who's up first here? Oh, there it is. So Carl, I'll introduce my close and personal friend, Carl Lewis. Carl has a great pivot story to tell. Carl has a great discovery story to tell because this guy got it under his skin. Carl's a lawyer. Don't hold it against him. He's hungry. He's got an entrepreneurial fire that I really admire. So Carl's company is called Ecco, and he'll tell you a little bit about it. He'll tell you about his discovery story. But Carl, would you please come up here, grab a mic, and answer for me, how long was discovery?
Hi, my name is Carl Lewis, and discovery is as long as a piece of string.
And how many encounters did you have during your piece of string?
Roughly, I would say probably at 300 at this point.
I'm listening. Ooh, yeah. Hypotheses tested?
Too many to count.
20?
Probably
40?
about 50.
50? Pivots? I know you had one major.
One major, and I would say probably about 15 minor pivots.
Did you use the canvas?
No.
You didn't use the canvas?
No.
Okay, iteration 0. Please give it up for Carl Lewis from Ecco. Forward, backward. Oh. And Carl doesn't like to use a mic.
Please forgive me. My darling little cherub of a daughter got me sick, so I may cough a couple of times. My name is Carl Lewis. I'm here with my developer and very good friend, Ian McQueen, and we are Ecco. But before we were Ecco, we were Scriver. And what Scriver is it's a tool set for lawyers to be able to create documents faster and better serve their clients. The problem with Scriver is that Scriver is a tool set filled with tools, and we're two people. And we figured that out talking to lawyers and talking to them about whether or not they would buy Scriver. And we figured out very fast that in order for Scriver to be of value to lawyers, we had to build the toolbox, build the tools, build a manual for the tools, all at the same time, and that we weren't capable of that. So that led us to Ecco. So Ecco, really quickly, is an location-based and time phone control software. The idea started when my wife came home, missed a couple calls from work, and wanted her ringer to turn back on when she got home. So this idea is, student ruminated for a while, and we were at Columbus Startup Weekend. I actually had just moved to Columbus from Ann Arbor. Don't hate me. And we were at Columbus Startup Weekend, and we had started a program that I had reconnected with Dave at called the Ecco program, which was all about customer discovery. So at the program, we went out and we started to do customer discovery. And we went and we talked to churches, we talked to movie theaters, we talked to librarians, we talked to hotels, we talked to anybody we could think of that might be annoyed by a cell phone going off in an event such as this one. So the really interesting thing about the start of our customer discovery is how many more value propositions we got out of that. And I would say the funnest is for parents who have children who have cell phones and the disruption that causes in the family. So when we went out and did our customer discovery, we started with is cell phone ringing annoying? And we would get an answer that we expected. And as we dug a little deeper, we found that it really actually wasn't that big of a problem for a lot of our customers. For example, the Catholic Church doesn't have any problem with cell phones ringing in church. Evangelical churches have problems with cell phones ringing in church. So we started to form our questions and re-ask them to the people that we had already talked to, and ask them how much they value the control of their own environment and what that meant to them. Well, wrong button. So, like I said, some of our hypotheses got invalidated. Some of them were validated, but the best part is finding new customers, and the reason I think that we were able to find new customers was because of the I-Corps program in particular, and looking at everybody as a customer. One of the things that kind of struck me that David said is that a customer is somebody between you and revenue. And that can be, that to me, that means that everybody in here is my customer, is a potential customer for me. Because I could talk to any one of you, and you could talk to one of your friends and say, I heard about this really, cool, or I heard about this really stupid phone app that changes your ringer on location. And, you never know who that person can be. I know a lot of people, it's Mr. Roston, knows a lot of people who can connect and accelerate a business very well. So I'm a little out of order here, but so the most rewarding part of the I-Corps program, besides being yelled at by Jonathan Fay, was developing our pitch, developing how we talk to people, and being able to hear the things that people were saying to us, even though we may not have gone into an interaction thinking that they were a customer of ours. So one of the sort of steps that we kind of develop is that we approach with a purpose, and we let them know who we are very briefly, and then we ask questions or listen for what really bothers them. And then after we're done peppering them with questions, we stay and we talk and we listen to hear what, who are these people? Who is this person that's in front of me right now? And then, and this is against the do not sell, but I always say or ask, would this be of value to you? And then very quickly, I don't even wait for an answer and I just leave. So, so going through that process, we really found that our first customer should be churches, especially mega churches, because they are very picky about their environments, and they really value having control over them. And our second customer segment would be parents, because believe it or not, they're really actually easy to get to, and they pay attention to things that will make their family life easier. And so I guess I'm supposed to talk about obstacles now. So the biggest obstacle is us, our own ideas, our wants, our desires, and how we think things should run. And, myself and Ian in particular thinking that we're smarter than everybody else, and that we, they need our product. And getting past that wasn't easy, and that actually was in large part to David and his conversations with us, really sort of refocusing us and redirecting us into a customer-centered view of things. When we started, we would go into conversations with the intent to sell, to find money, to find revenue, when we were talking like we were just trying to find information, and having a mindset that I really just want information. I don't want your dollar, I want your information. I want your help. On some, metaphysical level, really kind of opened people up and built a comfort a lot quicker than our methods before. My biggest problem is speed, and I like to do everything fast. And it's really important to slow down and again, listen to what the people were telling me, and not just the answers that I wanted to hear, but the information around those answers. And one of the another cool part was composite customers, and that's customers who are 2 or 3 people or a connection of people that if you brought them in line together or you got all of them on the same page, really did highlight a value proposition that you might not have seen before. And that brings me to this. So one of the cool things about the Outcore program is, well, actually it wasn't a cool thing at all, was the software that we used for customer discovery. And we were told to go out and talk to 100 customers, and I said, cool, I can do that. I can talk to anybody. And then we were supposed to write them down on a blog in a piece of software called Venture Highway. And I said, I'm not doing that at all. So very quickly I started to see that, asking questions and asking the same questions and improving those questions could yield some very good data, and really could focus down our efforts, number one, and make the angst and the agita that comes with, trying to get information from somebody new, within 30 seconds of talking to them, was finding the commonalities in our interactions. And so one of the things that we did was we wrote it down. We wrote down our set of questions. We asked questions in a yes or no format, and we asked them to rate their answers on level of importance. And that really that was like a really, really interesting thing. And that right there really knocked away a lot of the features in Scriver and in Ecco that we thought were really important or really cool. And on top of that, we, for our own purposes, we built a tool called Q&A, which we use to gather that data, improve our questions, and then re-ask those questions when they're improved, so that we can see a history of our customer interaction and how we change, how our customers change, and how that changes our approach to building our products or how we move forward as a startup. That's it. This is the first time I've ever done this. Thank you. You've been a great audience.
Let's give it up for Carl Lewis. All right, shameless plug. Thank you very much.
I want to introduce to you another great serial entrepreneur, Jeff LeBrun. I know of only 4 of his startups, but I think there are more. Jeff is a West Coaster who has relocated to Ann Arbor because this is just cooler than there, right? And I want to invite you up here, Jeff, and I'm going to ask you the questions that we always ask on Pesach, right?
Give it a go.
Yeah, all right. So, customer discovery, your duration.
Over a year.
Over a year, excellent. Encounters in that year.
Hundreds, probably 400.
Awesome. And you tested a whole bunch of hypotheses. How many?
We've probably tested 10 hypotheses.
All right. And you had some pivots along the way. Majors, minors?
We've had one very major pivot that's an entirely different product, and probably 3 minor pivots within the first product that we worked on.
This is going to be a great pivot story. All right. Did you use the canvas?
We did not use the canvas. I like to keep most of the things on the canvas kind of straight or in some sort of format, but I'm not really subscribed to the belief that it all has to be on one canvas.
Serial entrepreneur, founder, and CEO, Jeff LeBrun.
Thank you. My name is Jeff LeBrun. Postbound is a website for making designer thought books, and I'll just show you what the product has evolved to become. We started after a group of us got together at an Ann Arbor startup weekend over a year ago. I did it because I thought it would be fun. I wanted to meet some other techie people, and I learned enough to know that it's good to have partners that can build stuff, and so really, actually, the idea wasn't mine. I had other ideas I thought it might have even been better at the time, but I knew that people would work on this with me, and that's actually how I chose the initial business model. So this is one of the thought books. I'll show you how it works in a second. So my agenda is I'll describe what is Postbound, the original business we worked on, very quickly. I'll walk through the evolution of Postbound and how we got to that. And then I'll describe the pivot to the new product and how we decided to do that. So Postbound solves a pretty significant problem when it comes to making thought books for family and friends. I'm just curious, has anybody here ever participated in a collaborative type of project where you're making a photo book or writing letters or something to somebody that you care about as a gift? Okay, so a few people in the back. This is a fairly common type of project, and especially I think among younger people. The problem is that it's very difficult to do this type of project. It takes a lot of time. You need to nag all of your friends and family to submit. They usually don't want to submit to the last minute. And you have to plan in advance how you're going to make this book, and then you have to format it. And then sometimes when it's done, it actually doesn't even look very good. And so, this is actually an example of a book that was made for two books that were made for my mom when she retired, right around the time we were starting to work on this. And, to be honest, they just kind of sucked. They didn't look very good. And, as a result, she didn't really want to have something to show her friends to commemorate her career, even though a lot of people have put a lot of effort into it. So I literally kind of thought, what if we made something that my mom would want to show to all of her friends, knowing how many people my mom actually talks to on a given day, that'd be great free marketing. So, I mentioned the problems already, but, another problem with the current photo book model today that we found out is that they're actually kind of a commodity. The same printing companies make all of the photo books, so you'll see different websites on the front end, but the product you're getting out the back end are really basically all the same thing. It's a product that evolved out of the copy shop industry. And as a result of that, most photo book companies actually spend most of their money on marketing, not on making the book. And so, our thought is if we can make a viral model, we could reinvest that into the quality of the book itself and, potentially have a differentiated product. So we looked at many different types of designs requiring different levels of effort. Here's how the original version of the software, actually this is version 2.0 of the software worked. You would basically receive like a unique link or web address that you would send to the participants. They could log in. They contribute a photo and a message, pretty simple. And you can monitor the progress, edit the entry, reorganize the entry. And when you're done, you click, I'm done, we make the book. This is what the version is that we've kind of settled on. We ended up actually going to hang out at Hollander's and kind of making friends with some different book groupies along the way. We found out that Washtenaw County actually is one of the largest counties in the nation when it comes to printing, and they have this great history here, and so we were able to kind of tap into that. And so, we were successful in making really nice gifts for people, and actually I still receive handwritten notes when we make a book a lot of the time for somebody. They're so grateful for the gift that they were able to give, and this comment on the right is just, actually it's typical of what we get. I actually just got about $600 worth of Omaha steaks sent to me by somebody who got one of these thought books as a thank you present, which is nice. I had a really big party. I couldn't fit it. Yeah, I literally had to take all the vegetables out of the freezer. So this is how our business model evolved. I won't go through all of it. It's a similar framework, though, when you think of the business model. Canvas, I think, to me, the value proposition is always, highly important. You have to decide what the product is. Channel is something that I used to forget, and I think we actually kind of didn't think about enough when we were starting with this one, price is important, partners, production, and then your target segment. So, I'll get back to this, but, given that we were getting that type of feedback, why am I not already rich, right? Why am I not in California talking to a group? Why am I here at Ann Arbor Spark in the basement talking for somebody who's calling me a failure? Dave, you didn't tell me about that. You didn't say that's how I was going to be introduced. I'm still here. So, we went through this customer discovery process. At Startup Weekend, we surveyed about 200 people. We did that through directly talking to them. We actually did an online survey that we built really quickly, ran some AdWords to it, sent it to our friends on Facebook. Those were pretty skewed towards younger people, usually in their 20s or 30s. We said, okay, let's mix it up and go to Whole Foods. And, not surprisingly, the pricing changed a little bit. So we asked them, would you like to pre-order a book? We had over 50% of the people said they would. At $20, that was actually for a text-only version that we built that weekend. And we asked, who would you give this to? And it kind of varied. Friends, family, boyfriends, girlfriends. So this was our original business model. It's a viral model. People invite others to the product. And, the idea is that people gain awareness. We get free awareness of our business while they make a book. If they're inviting 50 people to the book, and I can tell you that a click for a photo book ad on Google AdWords costs $2 to $8, depending on the time of year. So I thought, maybe that's $50 to $100 of free awareness actually that I'm getting just from the act of actually doing one of these books. But how do you get the first users, right? That's always the big question when you have a viral model. Well, this was our first idea, but we had no money to actually pay for marketing, so we thought we have to figure something else out. So we decided to try Kickstarter. Everybody had been talking about Kickstarter. We did do a Kickstarter project. We raised about $5,000, but to be honest, the real purpose wasn't to get the money, it was to get the customers for us, because we had already built the software. We didn't actually need the money. It was nice, but I could tell you more about Kickstarter later, but that's probably a different talk. So, we started doing the Kickstarter. We realized that we thought, there would be some market for the text-only book, and that definitely was easier to do from a development standpoint. So that's what we did first. But people really did want photos. We talked to them. They were willing to pay a lot more. They were just more interested in doing a book with photos. So we started building a version that allowed you to get one photo that you'd associate with the text, so not a full photo book editor, but just a single photo. So we went through this text-only book. We actually spent a lot of time looking at working with companies that would do kind of the typical photo book format for us. Certainly that seemed attractive to be able to not have to actually physically touch the book. But when we talked to the customers, that quality just wasn't really what they were looking for with a sentimental type of gift. And we thought that was probably pretty easy to replicate, even if we were successful. The business model did get the attention of some of the different, third-party book fulfillment people that we could have been working with. At one point, we were discussing a deal with a company that makes all the books for Apple and Blurb, which is a popular photo book company. But we ended up not doing that, for better or for worse, I don't know. Decision factors we looked at are right there. I think what it really came down to, a lot of upfront development, additional development would have been required to interface with them. We weren't sure that they could meet a lead time. In most cases, these are gift products, so it needs to arrive by a certain date. And so by printing in-house, we're actually able to fill an order like the same day that it's placed if we need to, and ship it next day, so we can turn stuff around very quickly. However, we're probably not as scalable as if we were to be working with somebody like that. Challenges. Well, it turned out for us, for this product, customers really did want pretty good software, and it was more than we were able to build in a short period of time. So we've been kind of getting by over the past year with the software that we have. The developers we had initially were really good, but maybe they were too good because they all got lured to the West Coast to work for hot startups that could pay them a lot more money. We do have another guy that's building the software right now. We're building a full online book editor. So hopefully that will be done by this holiday season. And then the initial act of generating awareness has been difficult. One problem is that these events don't happen all the time. And so when you're marketing, you really need to connect with somebody at the moment when they're thinking about that gift. And even if they think it's a good idea, are you going to stay top of mind for them in 3 months when their mom's birthday is more imminent? I don't know. We've been getting repeat orders, but I think we need probably a larger customer base to keep that awareness. So right now, one thing that we're working with, like I said, we're totally bootstrapped. We've never tried to raise investment so far. So we don't want to spend a lot of money on marketing to get going. One thing we've considered is working with retail partners like Starbucks or Michael's or Hollander's who could be selling our books in the store. We built them so that actually the pages can be added separately from the covers. And so people could be ordering the pages online from us while buying the actual book cover in the store. And so we made a display recently. Actually, this was at the suggestion of a customer. I never would have thought of this, but they said, if you can build a video display so I don't have to teach my salespeople about this product, I'd be happy to carry it in my store. And at first, it took actually 6 months. We thought, we'd never be able to afford to build a video display. And then one of the guys just said, what if we just bought one of those $30 tablets and put it inside our book? I said, oh, well, we probably could afford to build a display for $40. And so we built this display for $40, and we have a 1-minute video that runs on it. So we actually haven't started marketing to stores yet, but our idea is that we'll be able to start doing that pretty soon. Why the pivot? Well, the main reason we pivoted is because I have also internal customers of what people want to work on, and some of the developers I had quit working on Postbound, and I had to find new developers to work with me, and I found a guy who was interested in working on another project that I had that we were interested in exploring, but not as much on Postbound. So KeepBooth is something we developed as a solution to really I would call it like the channel or frequency problem with Postbound. We wanted something that's more targeted, so we said, weddings is something that we really would like to go after. We wanted something that maybe could be co-marketed with Postbound at some point, and we wanted something with nothing other than software attached to it. And so an idea we kind of came up with while we were talking to people who are getting married, we realized that really today there's nothing that replaces the disposable cameras that people used to put on the table at weddings. I shouldn't say nothing. There are a couple of mobile apps, but people haven't really been adopting these mobile apps because when you're at an event, you don't really want to ask all of your guests to download something to your smartphone. So we came up with a system to email photos from your phone to a unique email address that could then be automatically basically projected in real time to a slideshow at an event. And our hypothesis initially was that we could be selling this app for $50 to $100 an event, and that's still way less than the $400 to $1,000 they would already be paying for a photo booth experience. We knew from talking to wedding customers that maybe 50% of the people getting married today rent photo booths, and so we thought we would take a shot at that, given that actually technically it's not really that difficult to build this app. We built it in a couple months. So here's what it looks like. This is actually a wedding I went to 2.5 weeks ago. She was one of my initial customers that I surveyed when we were trying to figure out if it was a good idea to build this product. She's also a marketing MBA at Michigan that I knew. And so it was, actually, it's great feedback when you can get somebody who's a target customer, but also as an MBA in marketing, you get a lot of good advice. I had multiple people like that. So these photos are photos that were sent from people at the wedding from their phone to Devin and Tom at KeepBooth.com. Automatically goes to that page. There's some privacy features, so if they don't like the photo, they don't have to accept it or make it public. And they didn't actually do this at the wedding, but they could have connected to a flat screen TV like this, and they would have been able to accept photos in real time and project it to the screen. A lot of times at weddings, weddings have become a full weekend event, and so the photographer can't be there for the rehearsal dinner for all the different events people are doing. And so I think there's a lot of interest around getting getting the entire weekend captured instead of just a few hours. I mentioned some of these reasons already, so I'll just skip over this. The big question that we had, though, was, will people actually use it? And I've done enough new products where I know that just because somebody says that they'll use it or buy it doesn't necessarily mean that they're telling the truth. So we got customer feedback from our team. I had gotten married recently. Actually, 2 of the designers that worked on the project got married this weekend. They got married to each other, so I wasn't sure if that counted as one customer or 2. We talked to many, all the engaged couples that we knew, and wedding professionals. We decided, at an early stage, we wanted to be making a bigger effort to work with channel partners. These are people, we know who they are. They're big influencers of engaged couples, and so it's a more direct marketing channel than we had before. In order to attack the wedding professionals, actually I found a guy who he wrote a script, and so I ripped off all the contact information. This is being recorded, huh? Off of Facebook, the wedding wire, and the knot. And so I have all of that on a CRM system. I can market to them. Been using that to call people and get customer feedback. And we have free promo codes we can give people to try the product, which is how I generally close the conversation. And we're kind of unselling because I don't try to sell to them, but my last question is always if they want a free promo code to try the product. So where are we today? We're still testing the KeepBooth product. We literally just finished it a couple weeks ago. Probably going to be next summer before we're able to start generating serious revenue from that because wedding season's kind of coming to an end. We're planning on doing some marketing at bridal shows this winter. Postbound, we're still developing the online book editor and kind of trying to reach out to bookstores and channel partners that could be carrying the retail displays that we're making because I'm kind of done with just trying to market to people online. So some lessons learned. When you've failed a few times, you realize it's better to just fail quickly than to prolong the misery. Good partners and developers are precious. Treat them well. Developers are a very scarce resource. If you're not one, even if you are one, you need to be nice to your other developers so that they want to keep working with you. Just because somebody takes a survey saying they'll buy something doesn't mean that they'll actually buy it. And leave enough time and budget to sell the product, don't just make the product. And, last lesson is this is an ongoing process. I'm probably not even halfway done with either one of these projects. So it's, we've made progress, which is nice, but I can by no means claim to have a successful business yet. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Let's give it up for Jeff LeBrun. Customer discovery doing product development, like that really cool book. I do want to see that video.
Okay.
And then a full-on pivot all through discovery and validation. I invited a non-client to join us today, a company I admire very much, and they were so excited about it that they sent their CEO and their head of marketing and strategy. The CEO is going to visit us on a video, Tom.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Grace Shaw, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Warmilu. I was born preterm and raised a Michigander through and through. I came to University of Michigan to study material science engineering. There, we identified that preterm infants have a 1 in 8 chance of developing hypothermia and confirmed this with customer validation. Nearly 2 million infants die annually from hypothermia-related causes, and current solutions were not affordable or accessible. So we developed our non-electric heat technology, shown here. But why am I here? Even after my Master in Entrepreneurship at U of M, I had failures, and I'm here to share our story. I can't help but share failure because we at Warmilu believe in celebrating failing fast and learning from failure. There's nothing like failure to remind you of how hard it is to develop a startup with its wild roller coasters of ups and downs. It takes grit, courage, and vulnerability to objectively assess failure. We developed the heat technology for use in infant warming blankets. Don't get me wrong, there's a huge need still, even as we speak, for infants and preventing infant hypothermia. But when I originally directed the team to focus on selling blankets directly and as quickly as possible to non-governmental organizations, NGOs, in developing countries, I held on to that market focus like a stubborn dog with a bone. And for a year and a half, I was determined to sell the infant warming blanket as directly as I could to that market. It wasn't until I had the opportunity to talk to 45 NGOs that I learned that the majority of the ones most in need could not even afford a $10 blanket. Any less of a price, and the profitability for Warmilu was a long ways down the horizon. So I remember kicking myself and wondering how in the world I, as a CEO, could have let not just my team down, but my vision for being able to prevent infant death from hypothermia. And I spent so much time pursuing a market where I just wouldn't be able to make the kind of impact that I had originally tried to strive for. And so it took a while, it took a few months to actually sit down and look at what I had done, why I had chosen to keep pursuing that market, and went through all the stages of grief, but I was honest about my desire to keep going and try again. Now, as you can see, 2 markets later, which as you go through customer discovery and validation, you'll find that you go faster through these markets and you are able to learn more. We finally found the heat therapy retail market where they're actually taking orders and paying a premium price for a high quality heat product. And so the challenge is we learned so much, and our learnings are derived from the hard knocks we received when reality came calling and customers started really providing strong feedback, and they were very receptive, but we recognized that they wouldn't be able to pay the price point we wanted to set for the product. That rejection stung, but don't let the sting of no or rejection deter you. And don't take it personally. The startup and its product or service may feel like an extension of you, and it is very meaningful and personal to you, but it reflects more on the strength of your character, determination, and discipline when you circle back to a customer who says no, and you're able to ask the right questions to do follow-up, to learn why isn't this the right thing for you? What would you use instead of this product? This really means a lot, and maintaining discipline is a huge accomplishment. That being said, discipline isn't talked about that often. It's not that glamorous, but it's the discipline that keeps you focused on the market and able to collect data and then analyze it down the line.
Collect data and then analyze it down the line. Couldn't have said it better. We have Tracey Fu, who is the executive for strategy and marketing with Warmilu. Tracey, customer discovery duration?
The most recent major pivot, it would be about 4 months.
4 months. Encounters, 45 NGOs plus.
Oh, well, NGOs I kind of before, but this summer I would say we had around 100.
100 this summer. Hypotheses tested, validated, discarded?
Probably 3.
Major and minor pivots?
So this was our most, the customer discovery following our major pivot that Grace alluded to.
Yeah, I want to hear all about that. And then, do you use the business model canvas?
Yes, we do.
Finally.
Yeah.
How many iterations?
So major pivot again. So this is probably our second major iteration.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's give it up for Tracey Fu from Warmilu.
So a little bit background on me. I am not a co-founder at Warmilu, as David said. I actually joined on this summer as a marketing strategy intern after meeting Grace at the Empower Startup Career Fair this past January. I'm currently a junior studying public policy at the university, and I took this as an opportunity to not only work for a startup because I'm really passionate about entrepreneurship, but also to learn about the healthcare and medical device space. So, David already talked about why customer discovery is absolutely necessary, but also for a group of students who kind of just had a product and thought we could just make the product and then get money. It forced us to get out of the classroom and into the real world and go out of our comfort zones. We learned how to talk to people, how to ask the right questions, what the right questions were, and learn what we didn't realize that we didn't know. And everybody in the company had to do it in person, even for the people who were focused on the technology. Because once you do it in person, it brings you closer to having a realistic view of what value the product or service had to your customer. You learned about the customer pains, who the influencers, the buyers are, and who the end users. And you identify your sales cycle and where you fit in. So some people like the marketing, some people like generating buzz, some people like talking to customers, and some people are the closers, or the people who can get other people to fork over their hard-earned money. So this is an idea of the timeline Warmilu has in the terms of the markets we've looked into. So you can see that since an inception, we've looked into many different markets, and through that, we went cycle through many different customer discovery processes. So in the beginning, we looked at the infant warming in the developing and developed worlds, looked into outdoor recreation, and then our major pivot in January of this year into the pre-hospital, so the emergency medical services, and the hospital market, to where we've reached our first pre-orders at our premium retail price, which is awesome, at the heat therapy retail market. So before you go to the customer and you're entering this new market space, you need to identify the market and learn as much as you can through the secondary research. And we really greatly utilize databases to learn about our potential competitors, about their economic activity, and then more higher level information about the market. Is it growing? What are the market shares of the competitors? And then we sat down and planned how we're going to talk to the customers. So I'm going to preface this by saying that this is what we did this summer. Before, our different processes were, we got the data, but we weren't very organized and we weren't very efficient. So that.
I'm a letter turner.
So this is what the organized system we came up looked like. We came in, sat down as a team, and said, we need to figure out the most efficient way to do these customer interviews. We're not going to talk to a lot of these people in person. It'll be over the phone. And we don't think that they'll give us tons of their time. So we had a list of questions. We're saying, no, this is critical, this is critical, this is critical. Then we realized there are different people we need to talk to. We're calling these numbers, but we don't know what role they play in the organization. And then we formed a tree. If you're the purchaser in an emergency medical service, we ask you what your role is. You're a purchaser? These are the questions we ask you. You are a technician, you're on the ground, and you are the end user. These are the questions we asked you. And this really organized our interviews as well as our data collection, and that really made data analysis much easier. So this is the after. Before, this is what we would use. It's kind of organized, and it gets you the information that you need, but it also made us have meandering conversations and forgetting to ask people questions. Something else that we did this summer that was different was really utilizing Google Docs. And so with Google Docs, you can access it anywhere at any time, and you can also see it in real time. So as we were talking to these customers and splitting off into our own rooms to do these phone calls, we can see what people were doing, who they were talking to, tracking their progress, and then afterward, we can all go back to this one centralized and focused document to see what happened. Once we had the script done, we practiced on each other. It's kind of goofy, kind of one person playing the hardened EMT and one person playing the Warmilu person interviewing, but it really made people a lot more comfortable. And we wanted to do this as a team so that people were all on the same page about what kind of questions we were answering and deciding the wording of the questions and what data we wanted. And so people would know how the process would go. And this also gave us the opportunity to revise, reword, and actually, once we asked the questions out loud, if they were the ones we wanted, and also how, in the order of the questions we wanted, would it make sense? And then we went to the client. So as you go to the client, you need to realize you will never be fully prepared. Yes, you've done a lot of planning. Yes, you've done the secondary research, and you think you understand the market space really, really well, but you're never going to be fully prepared because you're going to learn about their reality. And you need to be open-minded. So we also had sent out surveys to doctors, and one doctor called back and left a message and ripped apart our survey, said, no one's going to take this. Why are you even asking this information? This information isn't going to be helpful to you. Why'd you send this out? And it was scary. But then we called back and said, well, how do we fix it? And he sat down on a call with us and then worked through the survey with us, built it back up, and he ended up taking the survey and sent it out to other doctors. And so we got the data we wanted. And because we were open-minded and didn't just run away, never answer the call. After each customer discovery session, you want to debrief as a team and do it that day. So the first day this summer of customer discovery, the calls, it was 5 p.m. and we thought, oh no, everybody's off of work, we can't call anybody. We thought, wait, time zones. We can call the West Coast and it's 2 p.m. there and people will be working. So we had a list of numbers from California, and a couple of us worked on that, and everybody else worked on other numbers in other parts of the country. And we're calling. And it's fine, we're getting the data, we're going through everything, and then we came together as a team and heard about what everybody learned. Turns out they don't really have hypothermia in California, because it's warm, they don't really need heat packs. And it seems obvious now, but we just had a list of numbers, we just wanted to get as much information as possible. And doing this debrief the day of gives you time to pivot on the business model if there are any changes you want to make, or the script, or the direction of your customer discovery. So we realized we're probably not, it was nice calling California to confirm that they don't have hypothermia, but we're probably not going to call them again, even for the sake of convenience. Once you're done and you have this long data document that everybody has contributed to, you want to make a separate document. And this was really helpful to us because then we can just take the summaries, take our data that we got, and just analyze it in the most simple, plain, and direct way as possible, both because we're trying to move quickly, and also if we want to refer back to it, we don't have to spend a lot of time interpreting the results. So after your customer discovery process, there are many critical questions you want to be able to answer. So there's a lot of them, and I'm just going to highlight a few, but if anybody would like the presentation, just email Grace or I, or I think maybe Spark will provide it, and we'll happily give the presentation to you. So afterward, you want to answer, do you have a sustainable group of customers? Can you become profitable? Can you capture a significant market share rapidly? I don't know if I'm reading the right questions. What are your profit margins? What are your profit margins in comparison to your competitors? And are your customers willing to pay the price that you need for profitability? Also, if you're ready to go for sales, do you have material? Do you have a campaign ready? And most importantly, is your team on the same page as you? Are they ready to move forward with sales? You really want to make sure everybody is comfortable. And if they aren't, then there might be something that you missed. So key takeaways I personally had was understanding how this customer discovery process is run. And also, not everybody is comfortable with conducting these kind of interviews, which is fine. And it's important for them to try it out, but in the end, if you come together as a team and turns out they're not comfortable, then you can be more efficient as a team to have them do something that they are more comfortable with and won't avoid. And it's scary talking to people, especially if it's on the phone. It's a little weird talking to people you can't see their faces. But I think it was on an earlier slide. I played the student card very often, and people just became a lot more comfortable when I said I was a student at the University of Michigan and I had a research project and just really wanted to learn more about how they work. So that concludes our case study. If you have any questions about the customer discovery process, about Warmilu, or anything at all, feel free to email Grace or I. Thank you.
Let's give it up for Tracey Fu. What a great discovery story, and we've got the props. You pointed out a really good talking point for discovery, and that is the gold mine of data that it generates. So I would like to invite the panelists back up here. You all got mics. Get all your mics. Don, where's Don? Wave at Don. Don's got a mic, and when you've got a question, I want you to flag Don down, and I want you to ask your question in the mic, so that we have the benefit of our TV Land audience to hear the Q and the A in the Q&A section. This is our Q&A section.
Hi, my name is Aaron Fletcher, and I really enjoyed the panel. I thought it was great. One of the questions I had is a lot of the discussions about customer discovery were based on sort of face-to-face interaction and discussion, cold calling, and things like that. Did any of you utilize actually putting the product in the customers' or potential customers' hands to have them use it in terms of your discovery, and what type of things did you learn from that process?
Jeff, you want to take that one?
Yeah, for us, that's what the Kickstarter was all about. So we had, over 50 people order and make books. And, at that point, my mindset was still that it was more of an experiment. We would always email or call them afterwards and ask, what could be better. Some of the things we knew we could kind of guess what we thought could be better. And most of the time we were right. But there were a few things that we might not have caught as quickly without asking them directly.
There's a whole section in the owner's manual about minimum viable product and the value that you get in customer validation of putting a product in a customer's hands. That's hard to do in discovery, because in discovery you kind of don't have a product yet. But remember, I'm giving you a teaser here. This is the tip of the iceberg. For the rest of the iceberg, talk to Anik Ganguly in the back there about boot camp. Any other answers to that same question? You didn't put something in somebody's hands, but you did, Tracy.
So this summer,
Turn your mic on.
wait for a second. Okay, now it's on. So this summer we actually, after the customer discovery process, we launched the pilot program. So that's still ongoing. We had connections with EMTs who said, yes, we will take these and put these on our trucks and we'll try them out. So we've put 20 EMTs are trying it out right now. And so we're getting feedback right now. So hopefully it'll be good feedback.
All right, good question, Aaron. Anik?
Could each of you talk about how you went about making the list of people you wanted to talk to and tactics you used to actually get them to engage with you?
Excellent question. Carl, you want to lead it off?
I talk to everybody and anybody I can get to stop for 5 minutes. I don't do lists very well. I was a poor student, and so I don't do homework, and that's why I don't do the business model canvas. Excuse me again. One of the interesting things about the iCore program was that we were the only web-based startup in the program, and everybody else was medical, blow your face off, physics, we were very much not hamstrung by the very small segment that an in-camera cannula for arthroscopic surgery would be. So I still think that even so, talking to anybody about what you do, even if it's just 30 seconds about, hi, this is what we do, you'd be surprised about how many people talk about I had my shoulder scoped when I was in college, and then you can ask would you like the surgery to be a third of the time that it took, so
Sleep. Jeff?
Question. Yeah, I think the first question you have to ask is, who's your target segment or your target customer? For Postbound Phase 1, I think we asked that question. We realized we couldn't really answer it because it was everybody. And so we did talk to everybody, but then after a while we realized that's actually a big problem if your target segment is anybody who wants to give a thoughtful gift. It makes it very difficult to market directly to those people, which is how you have to do it when you're starting out. So that was actually a big part of the problem that caused us to pivot and choose KeepBooth. With KeepBooth, we know who's getting married. I can go on Facebook and see who's just got engaged. I can run ads to them. I can get lists of wedding planners and call those people. So there's just more things that I can do for low cost to create awareness of the product. But yeah, you have to start out, I think, asking yourself, who is the target customer? How can I reach those people?
Cool. Tracy?
So we have multiple markets that we looked into and that we're still looking into. And something that we did is going to a lot of industry-specific conferences or events. And for this summer, especially for the emergency medical services, we weren't sure how to reach a lot of them directly. So we can Google, some of them have websites, some of them don't. It's a very fragmented market. And what we did is that, but they still have a regulatory agency overseeing them. And so that information is available. So it was a little roundabout, but we called the regulatory agencies, and then we asked, okay, if you can't give us this information, who can you direct us to? And they would direct us to several people who would have the direct information we want.
I actually have a corollary to talk to everybody. It's, talk to everybody and let them tell you who your customer is.
That's that discovery wrap-up of who should I talk to next. Cool. Jerry, what's up?
I just want to throw a slightly different viewpoint in here. I fundamentally
So
agree,
typical.
thank you, with everything that's being said. But the example of the business that I'm coming out of right now, when we decided to focus using our product in the water purification membrane business, 2 days after we decided that, we knew essentially every customer we had in the world, because there were only about 24 of them. So there are times when this notion of speaking to 100 customers doesn't make sense, and it really comes down to product performance. So to the question that was asked earlier about the demonstration, in that case, we had to provide samples to these people because we knew what they wanted, we knew what they wanted to do, and the challenge we had was getting our product to perform to the spec that they wanted. But in that case, we were literally able to talk to the entire market, and we did it very quickly.
Less discovery because there's less to discover.
Question over here.
I have a question here.
It was sort of taking mine, but I had two. Following up on the value of your questioner doesn't seem to be playing into this. In other words, if I hit 100 people, but only 4 of them understood me, not value of getting 100. So being able to evaluate that sort of thing. Which brings me to my other question. All of you mentioned surveying as a tool to be able to help you with this. Can you speak more on that and how successful was it?
Excellent question. Who's up?
I just want to say hello to Mr. Miga, the resident raconteur of the Ann Arbor startup community. So surveys, we don't do surveys until we've actually talked to somebody either over the phone or face-to-face. Surveys is not a customer discovery tool for us. Surveys is more of a initial information validation tool. To us, customer discovery is about getting information, and surveys only get the information that you ask, and usually when you're asking questions, you already know the answers, which is why you're asking the questions. So we don't really use surveys, and have been continuously poo-pooed on using them.
Who's up? You got multiple answers?
Yeah.
Go.
Okay. So I mentioned the story of the doctor who tore apart our survey. So he helped us make our survey better, but it's also, he made us realize that doctors didn't have that much time, and also the best data we can get on people that we haven't met before was quantitative data. How many hours do they use this? That kind of thing. How long do the heat packs last? That kind of thing. So that was something you to consider, the people you're sending the survey to.
That's an excellent answer because that's more about product discovery than customer discovery. Cool. David.
A question regarding pricing and customer discovery. If you have something that's brand new, and I think all 3 of these ideas were brand new, when you're doing the customer discovery, how do you get them to articulate, I'd be willing to pay this for that? I mean, with the book, it's comparable to any other gift that would be given for a wedding or something like that. But these other services are different and new, so how do you know where to price it or what they'd be willing to pay? It's one thing to say, oh yeah, I'd pay $50 or $100, but will they?
So Bootcamp and Factotem teaches orthodox customer discovery. For our serial entrepreneur, Jeff, he's bleeding into customer validation and sales all the time. He can't help himself.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, when I'm starting out, I usually just ask them what they think that they would pay for it, and I just take that at face value, or maybe multiply by 80% or something, because I know they're probably understating how cheap they might really be when it comes down to it. what I'm doing now with KeepBooth is it's always harder to raise your prices than to drop it. So I'm starting off with a higher price tier than I think people will actually pay based on my surveys. And I'm giving out promo codes to people to give different tiers of discount. So, if I had enough people testing the product, I'd actually be able to do some math and figure out, what's the optimal price for this product. I don't think I have enough data points to do that right now, but that's I think something that a lot of people do in software type things. You can send people to different web pages and track your conversion rates at different prices, and just do some simple math and figure it out.
So that's actually one of the things that OG does. It's called a pricing elasticity study. Optimization Group is a quantitative market research firm here in town. And a lot of the discovery stories involved what's called a pre-post survey, where you actually ask a bunch of questions, and then you do a reveal, and then you ask some more questions so that you're getting raw, and then you're getting influenced. Right up
I had
front.
a question for Carl, and that was, first of all, I was fascinated by your methodology and the way you sort of set forth how you went about your business. But I want to know if you double-dipped or doubled down by getting leads that generated orders while, in fact, you were doing your discovery process?
I'm not sure I understand your question. Are you saying during my discovery process did I try to sell? Or
Do you go back to your discovery victims and then try to sell them afterwards?
Yes and no. Depends on the person. Some people, going back to the question about how much will people pay for this, or how much would they pay for our product, really, I kind of make a judgment call on whether or not they are, one, really in need of the product, which is really tough to do. Two, I will generally just ask, how much do you think this is worth, if they believe that I'm not trying to sell them. Actually, the yes part is when I hear them tell me this would be really great for my business, and then I jump on that and say, well, why don't I send you a proposal and we can talk.
Remember the bell curve slide. You're going to find some folks who are gaga for what your idea. And the challenge in discovery is to not jump on it, but actually plumb the depths of what they have to give you. Because you know that later they're going to be a pushover. You're just going to offer it to them.
Well,
they're
I
going to
guess
buy it.
That's the hard part from an entrepreneurial standpoint, because you know that the sales are there and the revenue is there. And I just think it would make me nuts to have to step back at that point.
What's discovery for?
Actually, I actually operate from a place that I don't know. And saying that I know something usually results in, life punching me in the mouth really hard. So I say that I don't know, and I treat every interaction as if I don't know what they want, and I don't know what their pain is, and I don't know if they're going to buy, and I don't really care if they're going to buy. I want the information, and then I get pleasantly surprised.
And just to follow up on that, one of the key things to keep in mind is that the customer discovery process most of the time is supposed to happen before you have a product to sell. Because if you're spending money on making your product, but you don't know what people want to buy, you're wasting money.
That's the investment ahead of the knowledge. Jerry, come join our panel. Come on.
Anyone else?
All right, I got a softball here, and then we're going to wrap it up. And my softball questions are questions that I'm really looking forward to the answer to. You have some experience in doing a startup without discovery. I wonder if you can contrast what were the values of this methodology over the, whatever the roll your own methodology was that preceded it. Take it, Jeff.
I think it's much better to do customer discovery. It's probably as much as I should say.
Actually, the first startup that I ever did involved Jerry Roston, and the second one involved another entrepreneur in town, and that was extremely painful. So The reason that I got into entrepreneurship was to get out from behind a desk and stop being a lawyer and start actually solving people's problems instead of mitigating the damage. And without doing the customer discovery, I was just mitigating my own damage and not talking to anybody. So I as much as we make fun of Steve Blank, and we make fun of him a lot, it's he's right on in a lot of places.
I can say I've seen firsthand he always says years and millions of dollars can be wasted. I can say, yeah, that happens. I've seen that kind of firsthand, working with different startups, in Ann Arbor and other places, investing in startups. It happens all the time.
So I'm still an undergraduate student, and so I joined an organization called Empowered Entrepreneurship freshman year, and so we do a lot of like pitching events or competitions, so I did a lot of those, and it's really ended up just being a bunch of me and my friends just kind of messing around with an idea, and we never really got anywhere. But with customer discovery, that was the furthest we would ever go. So for this, they had a point, and the idea actually was executed. So it's really important so you're not a student messing around.
And with that, I want to thank my esteemed panel for your cases and for the benefits of your experience. And I want to encourage everyone here to learn more about customer discovery, learn more about your customers. Thanks. I'm going to turn it back over to Don.
Thank you, Jeff and Carl and Tracey and David. David, come on up for a minute again. So tonight, you really did get real stories, real risks, and real pivots. And you've had those in your life as well. Now, hopefully, you've been encouraged to go out and you've got some really good insights here and some tools to think about as you go forward to grow your business. That's really what we're wanting, is for each of you to go inside and say, all right, I want to have a disposition to action. I want to take something from here and challenge myself to really push further from where I am and be encouraged that fast failure can take you to a really good place. David's just come up for a minute. David has been our chairperson, and he's been leading us in this series. And I just wanted to take just a moment to thank him for his leadership, his insight, and really he's a wonderful guy who has a tremendous story about almost anything that has to do with entrepreneurship. And many of you are his personal friends here. But you all are working together with guys like David to move our community forward, to bring new ideas to life, and to generate revenue and generate great successes. So I just wanted to acknowledge David in his leadership and insight, and let's everybody give him a great hand. Good. Okay, there'll be a survey coming to you from Alyssa from tonight. We really need you to fill that in. We've had a great crowd, and next month we are going to have a new twist on things. We're going to be talking about a marketing plan on a napkin, but it has to do with the food sector of things. So, but everyone can still be here and learn something about what you can do to apply some specific marketing initiatives and strategies for yourself. So thanks, everybody. Have a great night.